Okay, so listen. Story. Once upon a time, someone spent $10 million to create a vision of the future, and then they tried to bury it. They thought hitting delete was enough, that it would just vanish forever. Well, they were wrong. And we're here to show you the proof.
So, level up, archivists. What we do here at the Internet Mystery Archive, it isn't about finding some dusty old tape in an attic. No, this is digital archaeology. We are literally sifting through the digital rubble of a so-called server migration that wiped a decade of our culture off the map in a single afternoon. We hunt for phantoms in the code. We found a ghost.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? This whole story is about something they tried to force us to forget. A presence, a ghost in the machine that proves that in our digital world, deleted is a very, very relative term. It's not really gone. It's just waiting to be found.
To really get your head around this one massive deletion, you first have to understand the context. You have to walk through the digital ghost towns that came before it, and these aren't just dead links we're talking about, these are the ruins of entire online civilizations.
Just think back for a second. Back in 2009, Yahoo pulls the plug on GeoCities, and just like that, poof. 38 million pages of personal history of early internet art and culture just vaporized. That was a warning shot. But the real catastrophe, the one that truly shook the foundations of our digital memory, was what we call the MySpace silence of 2019.
The scale is it's staggering. 50 million. That's the number of songs from 14 million different artists, all permanently lost from MySpace's servers. We're talking about the very first demos, the raw creative spark of an entire generation of musicians, just gone.
Now, the official story they gave us was a botched server migration. Yeah, right. A lot of experts, folks like Andy Bio, they weren't buying it for a second. They called it exactly what it looked like, a flagrant, almost shockingly convenient way to dodge the massive cost of hosting all that old, unprofitable data. Less of a mistake, more of a financial decision.
And this pattern of, let's call it corporate forgetfulness, this prioritizing of cost over culture, well, that's what led our researchers to an even bigger ghost. A ridiculously ambitious $10 million immersive movie from the early 2000s. It was designed to let you live inside a virtual world. It was years, literally years ahead of its time.
This is what our lead archivist calls the regime of ambiguity. See, when a digital artifact that big, that expensive just vanishes, it doesn't just disappear. It creates this gaping hole in our collective memory. It makes you start to question what was real and what was lost.
So our researchers got to work digging deep into the digital archives. Using tools like the Wayback Machine, they started piecing together the tiny fragments left behind. Broken image links from old websites, corrupted metadata, all of it was proof that it existed. But the core video files, the heart and soul of the project, totally gone, vanished.
So at this point, we had proof of its life and we had proof of its death. What we didn't have was the motive. Not until an anonymous source reached out to us. And that changed everything.
So, here's the question we had to ask. Was the loss of this groundbreaking project, just like the MySpace silence, really just a technical error? A simple, unfortunate glitch? Or was it something way more intentional? Was it an excuse to bury an expense?
Our source, who had actually seen the internal memos, confirmed our absolute worst fears. The deletion, it wasn't a glitch. It was, and I quote, an erasure of the expense. A $10 million project reduced to a line item on a budget that someone wanted gone. And here's the cold, hard logic behind a decision like that. It costs, roughly, about $2 to permanently archive a single gigabyte of data. Now multiply that by the terabytes needed for a huge 3D project, or for 50 million MP3s, you see where this is going. It becomes a massive hosting bill that nobody wanted to pay.
For years, the case just went cold. The project was nothing more than a digital shadow, a whisper. But then, in May of 2025, we got the breakthrough, the crack in the wall of silence we had been waiting for. And just like with so many other legendary lost media hunts, the truth wasn't floating around on some server in the cloud. Nope, it was physical. The Reading Chronicle broke the story. A former crew member, someone who actually believed in the project, had saved a physical backup copy all those years ago. But there was a catch. The tape was badly damaged by magnetic decay. It was basically unplayable. So this required what our team calls technological endurance. We had to isolate every single recoverable fragment of data. Then, using generative AI that we trained on visuals from that same era, we began this incredible process of predicting and reconstructing all the missing frames. literally filling in the gaps that time had erased.
The result was, honestly, it was breathtaking. On the left, you can see the corrupted, unplayable mess we started with, and on the right, that's the restoration, a clean 4K render. You see, we didn't just find the movie, we rebuilt it from its own digital fossils. We proved that history cannot be completely wiped out.
Recovering this one piece of history was a huge victory, for sure. But it points to a much larger, much more fragile truth about the world we all live in now.
We think of the cloud as this infinite, permanent thing. It's not. And this matters because we're not just talking about some old movie or a bunch of music files. We're talking about your photos, your messages, your memories. In an age of constant system outages and platforms that can disappear overnight, your entire digital life is basically written in sand.
We see ourselves as the final line of defense against this constant, creeping web decay. We're the guardians of digital culture, stepping in to preserve what others would just throw away. Because that culture is your culture too. That $10 million movie is no longer a ghost. It's a record. It's real. But it leaves us with one very unsettling question. If they tried to bury this, what else had they tried to bury? What else is out there, waiting in the dark?
Our work is never ever done. The forces of digital decay, of deliberate erasure, they are always at work. So subscribe to African Content Press. Follow the trail with us before this story gets deleted too.